Guys, you know what I like really like?
What?
I just really like girls.
Honestly, same.
Oh my god.
It's honestly same, but gay.
Lesbians, bisexuals.
Honestly gay. I'm not gonna have a lot of spicy stuff to tell you.
Honestly gay. Honestly gay.
Honestly, same.
Ooh, honestly same.
Honestly, same.
Honestly same.
Honestly,
Honestly,
same.
same.
Honestly
Honestly, same.
same. Honestly same.
Honestly, same.
Honestly, same.
Honestly same. That was perfect.
That's
That's
just
why I
hashtag
bring-
honestly gay.
Yes.
Damn,
That is what Ross is
incredible.
bringing to this episode.
Yeah, well, spoilers, folks. This might be a really bland episode from my perspective, but hey, welcome to the show. This is Honestly Same. My name is Ross.
My name is Leah.
And my name is Brittany.
And in this episode, it's all about sexuality.
Sorry for the cough.
You coughed during the title reveal, and now no one has heard it.
So sorry.
No one knows what we're
I was
talking
like,
about.
do I hold this cough in?
Then I would have been sitting here just going.
So yeah, we're gonna dive into sexuality in this episode.
Yeah.
I kind of already said it. I don't know where all we're going to go in this. I feel like
free for all.
Just spoilers up front. I feel like mine's gonna be pretty bland
but
for this episode.
I would love, and I think she would love, if like you got curious when we're talking about like
yeah.
things, because we are going to understand each other's experience. We're not going to dive into them with each other because we're going to know. But you can be like, wait, more
Let's
about
touch
that.
on that.
Wait,
Yeah.
so like when you kiss a girl, like
So
what
what's it like?
happens? What's it like?
Wet.
Like,
Well,
Slobbery.
like
You know.
where this is going already, everybody.
okay, amazing.
Chapsticky.
So how do we?
Very cherry chapsticky.
How are we starting this
So
episode?
yeah, I was thinking we would talk about sexual awakening when you're like, what
okay.
age were we, and what were you seeing when you were like, and Ross, you can also obviously answer this, like, first movie you saw, our first girl that you were like,
You're like,
oh,
wow.
this is different than just being
Man.
friends. I'm feeling things.
I don't know. I have to. Do you guys like have that on the top of your
Yes.
mind?
I think when it comes to like in a gay way, it was definitely Natalie Portman in Star Wars Episode 1 when she played Queen Amidala or Padme. I was definitely like, I like her.
But I like her.
And yeah, but I also in like the later movies liked Anakin. So you know, it was definitely a little bit of everything.
Yeah, so,
Star
okay.
Wars related.
So your sexual awakening, both male and female, were Star Wars.
I don't know if I would say the male awakening was Star Wars, but Natalie Portman was definitely, I would say, like my female awakening.
I think that has to be a social clip. So your sexual awakening was Star Wars.
And I said it's so serious.
I woke up sexually when Star Wars came into my life.
Should also maybe at the top of this episode, like, do we want to lay out before we just start like
What
talking,
our
like,
sexuality
yeah,
is?
because we're just like, oh boy,
Yeah, that
blah,
makes
blah,
sense.
Blah, blah. Like again, I'm bland, straight white guy.
Are you okay? Are you sure? I'm just wondering.
That's honestly a good question for this episode, and truthfully, I have to say yes, I'm 100% sure.
Okay.
There's never, and we can dive into this later if I'm jumping ahead. There's never even been like a moment.
Like a
Is there
question.
ever like? So there's never even been like. I don't know. It's hard for me to understand being straight.
Have you seen Ryan Reynolds?
Yes.
Have you
Yeah.
seen
Quick
him?
question.
Of course. Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hawkeye.
So I think it's good
Does
though that like
nothing-
you're also like, because you're so comfortable with your sexuality too though, like you're not like uncomfortable being like, yes, that person is an attractive
I cannot
man.
stand when
Oh,
dudes
yeah,
are like,
no.
I'm so straight. I've never looked at a man.
No.
Yeah.
No. I haven't
Because
even
you can
touched-
appreciate
my
when
own
they're
penis.
attractive, and I don't even touch my own penis.
Hey, guys. Hey, come on. Guys,
Come
back me up.
on.
Hey, come on. You don't want to touch your penis, right? Come on. I understand.
Oh my god.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
so-
I know that's not a spicy answer. That would be a big reveal in this episode. But yeah, I've never.
But there's nothing wrong with it.
No,
nothing,
that's-
Yeah, no, of
it
course.
doesn't always
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to be spicy.
No, but there's never been. But what's interesting though is that I feel like I have a lot of feminine traits though. You know what I mean? I
Okay.
lean like more like I am. I feel like I've always kind of been less like bro masculine sort of thing.
Yeah, but
And
that's more about, I feel like, gender identity.
Yes.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's something that like, and I just think that as a whole, like that's a whole other subject that we could get into
Agreed.
like very
Yeah, a
deeply.
whole other
But I do think that there's these weird constructs that society has been like, oh, you like pink, guess you're gay.
Right. Yeah. But and I feel like even like on an emotional standpoint and all that sort of stuff, I feel like
You
I
are very
naturally-
in tune to like the feminine side of things.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if either I've talked to both of you about this, probably at different times. Like even in like friendships, like if there's like a couple that I'm friends with,
Yeah.
I usually tend to naturally connect with the girl
Yeah.
over the guy.
Okay.
I'm like
Interesting.
almost like more like, oh yeah, let's talk and let's be friends. And like, oh yeah, dude, like yeah, of course we're friends. But like, oh, but it's you, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
We could have a whole episode about how guys communicate.
which
Yeah.
I think we should. We need to add that to the note. But yeah, there's never been like a
question.
A
Okay.
question. There's never been a moment where
So
I'm like,
you've never
do
even
I?
questioned it?
No,
Okay.
I really haven't. Yeah.
And not in
I
like I'm about to get myself into something if I don't process this now, but just in a like, because I would assume a lot of the time, sometimes I think a lot of the time, sometimes,
maybe a little bit.
Some of the time,
maybe a
all the
little bit of
time.
everything.
Maybe never.
Is that I can't tell if I admire someone or if I have a crush on them.
Yes.
Depending on what the circumstance is. And so I
okay.
didn't know if maybe you had a little bit of that blurred line where you're like, you're just like, I like what you do. I respect it.
No, it's definitely. Listen, here's the thing. I think you both know this. I'm a gigantic fan of pro wrestling. That's
Yeah.
oily dudes in their tights all the time, and most of them are like good-looking dudes that are supposed to look good on camera. Even with that, there was never a time where I was like, you know what? I don't know. Jeff Hardy's looking pretty
trying to
hot.
kiss him.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
there's
okay.
never. It's always just been like, holy shit, what a fucking cool person
Cool.
that is. Whatever
Okay.
they
Yeah,
do.
it's like you aspire to like almost be like that person, not be like
With that person.
In
that
them.
person.
Yeah.
Or in them. Or in them. We're jumping right into the inside of them.
you know, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, no, it's never. There's never even been a wonder. I will say it's funny because growing up, I think the only time that like my family thought that maybe I would grow up and be gay or something was because, again, always kind of been a little bit feminine.
Tight pants. Was it when skinny jeans?
Theatrical-ish.
It was before the skinny jeans.
Oh, okay,
This
I
is
feel
when
like that was
younger.
always something for men, like growing
Oh,
up.
for sure.
In
I
like
mean-
the scene days.
Yes, when Scene popped up, I'm sure someone was like, "What the fuck?" But I actually remember my mom telling me this at one point when I was older, because when I was a kid, I also really, really loved Michael Jackson. So they were, so I would
Gotcha.
always like dance and sing Michael Jackson. I was super
yeah.
because I also just like I love entertaining people.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
I've always been into that.
He was like a master entertainer. He
And
was
now-
also a very sick individual, but
and
he,
yet now it's
Yeah,
not cool.
that is
for-
why Ross is not gay.
it's not a great thing now to sit here
specifically
and be like,
because of Michael Jackson.
hey,
he is
when
not
I was
gay.
a kid, I was a big fan of Michael Jackson. It's like, well, when you were a kid, he was a big fan of you too.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But, so not as
Yeah.
fun to say now. But
Yeah. Speaking of sexuality and things that you're
Yeah.
attracted to.
future Michael Jackson episode won't be happening, you guys.
No, we don't need
but
it.
yeah, like I remember that was something that was, because again, I was like very feminine and emotional and like loved Michael Jackson. I loved dancing around and all that sort of stuff. But like, again, that wasn't me being like, oh, I think I want to, like, it was just, this person's entertaining. And I love the songs. and I'm
Also,
just
if we could like nix, and I know you're not doing this is just like a product of the time, like theater being like coinciding with
Yeah.
Totally.
like creative and like wanting to perform coinciding with sexuality.
One
Yeah.
of my favorite quotes from Friends is when Ross's son is playing with a doll, and they're like, "Why are you so offended? He's playing with a doll. Are you afraid he's going to be in show business?" And I thought that was so funny because I was like, I don't know when and where like show business and like all of that just became like a feminine thing or like a gay thing,
Right.
which like we love the theater, we do, but also I feel like there's like this weird thing like boys don't like to be in choir, they don't like to be in theater because they're afraid that they're going to be perceived as feminine. And I think it's awesome that as a straight guy that is confident that he's straight, you are also in touch with the fact that like because you're straight and you're confident in being straight, you can also enjoy the feminine side of things.
You're not afraid to dive into those things as a person
Yeah.
with like a multifaceted like life.
Or even like, and we're gonna do a whole other episode about this, but like, even like complimenting other dudes. Like, I have no fucking problem being like, you fucking dude, nice, you look good today, or like, what, love that outfit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care.
You working out?
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm not. But yeah,
Russ,
I
I love grabbing people's muscles. I love grabbing men's muscles.
I love grabbing the muscles. I've never considered anything else, but I just love when they have a little
when
bulge.
they're-
I'm just.
He's like, I have to make this spicy.
Oh my
Try
god.
to spice it up for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, we started.
So
by
Ross
laying
is
out
straight.
each of our-
Like
Ross
as
is
we just
straight
got into,
as hell.
clearly.
Straight
What are
guy.
you?
So I identify as bisexual. It's something that like coming out was something that like I think publicly I made an announcement, but I also like it was on Facebook and I hid it from certain friends and family that I wasn't like ready to say it in like a way where it was like here's just a post and I wanted it to be more personal. There are people in my life that I still haven't technically had the conversation with, but I think that just based on like who I am and everything else, like I don't necessarily feel the need to identify myself to them. But I'm not sure, like there are parts of me that have also questioned if it might like even like trail into pansexuality a little bit. It's more for me about like the personality and just like, I don't know, every now and then you might just like see somebody and just be like, wow, like that person just like is like all just like bells and whistles in my brain.
Yeah.
And so I don't necessarily know if it's specifically like men and women or if it's just anyone. But I would say as of right now, I identify as bisexual. And what about you, Brittany?
Same, but it's exactly the same. I just feel comfortable under the bisexual umbrella,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't like turn away anyone because of their gender.
Right.
Or
No,
whatever
and
they're
that's how
identifying
I feel as
as.
well. It's more about like who they are as a person, I feel like, and how they are, you know, how they make me feel.
Yeah. But yeah, I always have just fell under that umbrella. I've never come out with like a post or been like everyone's finding out at the same time.
Yeah.
But I've also just talked about it like it is just my reality.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's the thing is I think like there's almost this weird pressure like in the gay community of like going and like making an announcement for yourself. And I think I did it. I don't even remember how many years ago it was now at this point, but I feel like I did it in a way where it was kind of like I had a platform because I was in a band and I felt like it was important for other people to see me as who I see myself as.
Oh, yeah.
And to be able to say, I'm here to represent people that are like me. So I feel like I did it more for other people than I did it for myself. And that's, I think, why, like, in my personal life, like, I've never had, like, a, like, coming out conversation with, like, my parents.
Yeah.
I've never had that conversation where I, like, sat them down and was like, this is a serious thing that we're going to talk about right now, because it's honestly just, like, kind of never come up.
yeah. Oh, I have a gay brother, so like the conversation had already happened.
Yeah.
With him, and that was really hard because that was in like 2011 when like literally
Things
when
were
he
different.
came out, he was like the only like out gay person in our entire high school at the
Well,
time.
you guys had a small town too, so that
Yeah.
was probably really hard for him.
But at that point, he came out, and I had not like considered what I was. I knew that I had kissed like a billion girls at that point, but it was never
whole
anything.
million.
Man,
A
nice.
billion with a B.
Oh, a whole
I was like,
billion.
are you a girl? Right, Ross?
Are you a girl?
Are you a girl? So yeah, I've definitely like talked about it and like on social media and stuff, but there's never been like a coming out just because I watched that with my brother and that just like wasn't fun. My family was pretty great. There were, you know, a couple of setbacks, and I just was always in a relationship with a dude, unfortunately, most of the time. So I just didn't ever feel the need to.
Yeah.
But then when I was with a girl, I would be like, because of how we have fetishized women that like both men and women, I never could be like, this is serious. And that boils down to just like misogyny that is ingrained in us.
Yes.
That I could never, did not matter how much I cared for a girl, how much I liked her, whatever was going on, it was never that serious.
Yeah.
Because of like my built-in misogyny. That this is just like a fetishized thing. Even though I like girls,
Yeah.
I just would be like, we're having fun, and then I'm going to go get a boyfriend.
Yeah. So did I said like what my like
Oh,
sexual
yeah,
awakening
sexual
was,
awakening.
but
Now
I don't
we've
think that we've
laid the
like
groundwork.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
think that we've gotten into it with everybody else. So I'd love to hear when you guys were
Yes.
like, oh my gosh.
Okay, my sexual awakening for men was Jesse McCartney, which says a lot about me being gay. because he was such a little femboy. Loved it. I really love men that are very feminine.
Okay.
I know that about myself, like through and through. I love it. My sexual awakening for girls was either Miss Honey from Matilda.
I love Miss Honey.
I don't know what that was about, but I was like,
She was nurturing.
she was so
and
nurturing
just
and beautiful.
Yeah, absolute
Or
goddess.
the movie 13 with Nikki Reed.
I never saw that one.
It's very like controversial. It's two 13-year-old girls. One has had like a really hard life and the other one has like a normal life. But essentially Nikki Reed, which is Rosalie from Twilight.
Oh.
This is how I have to explain everything. I have to do
we were
it.
in Twilight, and I'm like, I got it.
Yeah, you're
I
like,
got
okay,
it.
yep, I'm there. I'm there with you.
We're on the same page here.
And I don't remember who the other girl is. I don't want to mess it up. So I'm not going to say who she is. But either way, Nikki Reed is like a bad teenager. She's taking her friend who has this fine, normal home life and like getting their belly button pierced and like going and meeting up with like older men and
Being
all of
like
this
a bad
stuff.
influence.
And when I was 13 and like they have like a kissing scene in it. I wasn't even 13. I was young. I was like 7 or 8. I used to walk to the video store and they would let me rent movies. And I would always tell them, like, my mom sent me for this movie. And it would be a rated R, and they'd be like, whatever. Very, very small town.
Okay.
My mom was so mad when I came home with that movie because she was like, I don't want to watch that, and you can't watch it. I did watch it, clearly, because now I'm gay. But seeing, like, two teenage girls kiss. And I think that was another problem with me feeling like I need to be secretive about it. That's the only time I had seen it. So I'm now going to kiss all my friends.
In secret.
In secret.
Yeah.
And that's just what this is.
And that's it. It always felt like that. I feel like
because then
growing
you're
up,
going to watch a rom-com and the boy and the girl are just like kissing and then they go tell their parents and happily ever after.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that is a big thing, that it's like, it was very like, kind of like hush hush.
And it still is in all like media. And there was no one to talk to about it.
No. And I think that that's a thing is like growing up, and we talked about this earlier, I was kissing girls way earlier than I was kissing boys, but like I didn't like have girlfriends, or like you didn't talk about it like at school, like you acted like completely normal at school, or even like you didn't even know each other in school. Like it was like, oh, you came over my house and like we kissed a lot and stuff, but like nobody's ever gonna find out about this.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so weird. And there was like so many of them. And I don't even remember some of the girls' names. Like I can't even.
Wow.
Okay, there wasn't
impressive.
that many, everybody. There wasn't a billion and there wasn't so many. I don't know what my problem is right now. But there were enough. There was probably like 3 or 4. And that's a lot to get to an intimate level with someone.
When you're young, yeah. I mean, that's definitely, I feel like, especially because like, I don't know, like when you're a certain age, like your parents keep an eye on you when boys are over.
Exactly.
But when girls are over, they're just like, oh, that's just their friend. They're just going to hang out and like don't think anything of it. And I mean, not that like a girl can get a girl pregnant, that if that's what they're worried about is like, oh, we can't leave them alone.
And that's traditionally what they are worried about.
Right, exactly. They're like, uh-oh, like they're going to start experimenting sexually. And I don't think that there's as much of an assumption that kids, I would say, are going to have that like, show me mine if I show you yours kind of thing with like each other of the same sex.
Well, especially when like most people before our generation had to suppress whatever their sexuality was in general.
Yeah.
They're just not thinking about it. They've already like pushed that down. So they're like, yep, those were two friends hanging out. And that's what that is. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now we've done sexual awakening.
What about Ross? When did you see like a woman or a girl and you were like, oh, wow.
Oh, I'm feeling things.
I've been trying to think of that the entire time.
Who is like your celebrity crush? Your first celebrity crush, or like the first crush that you had where you were like, wow.
Man, I honestly, like, I literally don't know. Like, I don't know if I had, like, I don't know if I remember the moment where I was like, oh, wait.
Well, I think ours is a little bit more influential because we weren't supposed to feel.
Well, that's what
okay,
I mean, like,
that is a terrible thing to say.
No. But I mean, like, society didn't give
at the
us
time.
Well, yeah, did not like gear us up for.
Yeah, you felt
that.
like it was. Yeah, that. Yeah,
where
so
it had to
there's
be
a
like
larger impact of like, oh wait,
I'm
hold on.
processing feelings instead of just being like, oh, like that's a little crush,
I feel
and this is
differently
fine.
than what everyone tells me I'm supposed to feel.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, it was just like, oh, I'm a boy and girls are hot and cool. Like, I'm sure one of my earliest ones was probably some like female pro wrestler or something.
Yeah,
like
probably.
a lot of them are pretty hot.
Yeah.
So like, I'm sure early on I was like, oh wow, like this is pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
No wonder.
Amazing.
Okay.
She's
Yeah,
in a bikini.
Oh yeah. there's no, I really can't trace it back to like
A moment.
a moment.
I would say like my
necessarily.
straight moment. I don't think that I like know exactly like when there was like a boy in my life that I was just like, oh my god.
Oh, and like real life, I didn't touch on this on my episode, so I'm going to touch on it now because it's funny. My first boyfriend, his name was Tommy, and he had web toes.
Wow. Shout out to Tommy with the web
Hey,
toes.
Tommy. I can't remember his last name. I wanted to look him up on like social media. Sorry for, he is never going to find this podcast in his life, but sorry for name dropping you and your web toes.
Tommy Webtoes.
Tommy web toes. But I remember he was my first kiss.
Huh.
He was
Okay.
my first kiss. But at the same babysitter, I also kissed a girl.
Oh, okay. So this was like with a babysitter.
Yeah,
situation.
my first.
So,
Yeah,
like,
I was
you were pretty
very young. I was so young.
I was definitely in preschool when I kissed a boy for the first time. And his name was Jacob. And I think I talked about this on my episode.
I don't remember any of this.
You don't remember us talking about this? That's okay.
No,
The
no.
episode might not be out yet.
Ross is too busy thinking about who his sexual awakening was. He's just like, I don't know anything.
I'm not saying I don't remember you sharing that. I'm saying from my experiences, I don't remember any of this.
Well, and I
Like,
think that one of the episodes that we've filmed in the past, we did talk about how, like, with men, a lot of the time, like, boys are, like, raised to think about other things, and girls are, like, thinking about their wedding day.
Literally,
At,
like, our
at,
whole
like, 3 or
reason
4,
for
you're, like,
existence
walking
when we're
around with a
young.
sheet on your head, and you're like, I'm a bride. Like, you're so focused at a young age as a girl on who you're going to spend the rest of your life with that it's literally, like, just so bizarre.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
that you're just, girls are boy crazy. I feel like all girls are at least a little bit boy crazy.
That's fair. Yeah, and I was probably like thinking about like,
Monster trucks.
how am I gonna ramp that monster truck into the coal mine so I can provide for my?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can provide for my.
You were playing with dinosaurs and Legos, and we were like, oh, I hope that boy likes me.
Yeah, essentially. Okay, so
That makes
sexual
sense.
awakening, what our sexuality is, we've covered. Do we want to cover like? You've not dated any girls. But
Correct.
You've kissed lots of girls. Is there anyone that you had like specific feelings for that you were like, okay, this is why I know this is a little bit more than just like kissing girls?
I don't know. Honestly, I think, like, I knew that, like, I was sexually attracted to girls, but I think it was always hard for me, like, and even now, it's funny because, like, if I were, like, in the dating scene, I think I always just gravitate towards men because it's comfortable and easy to talk to men because it's almost like, again, like, what I've been conditioned to know how to do. Whereas, like, with girls, it was always kind of like, is this flirting or is this that thing where we're just like gassing each other up?
Have you ever been on dating apps for girls?
No, I actually have never used a dating app in general.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
So I met Nick, and that was like in the wake of like Tinder being a thing, and I met him organically and never actually like had to
That's
actually
great.
like
They're not fun to navigate.
use a dating app.
free range dating.
Now, what
Yeah.
about you? Did you have like a girl in your life that was like that was your confirmation for how you felt?
I never like put a label on. I knew like I liked girls, but I never like called myself gay or bi or anything until I was like probably like 17 or 18. And then the first girl that I talked to ghosted me. That hurt really bad. We're friends now.
Oh.
But we like went on dates and we were having such a good time, and then she ghosted me, and that's okay. I think it's just one of those things where it's scary
It
because
just-
she was bi too. It's not like she was gay and was like, yes. Again, it goes back to like the whenever it becomes serious, it becomes scary. Whereas men, this is what we do. This is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So that one hurt. I've talked to a couple girls. I think it's because I'm married now that it's hard to like go back in time to that. But I think that if I were not married and I had to join the dating game, I would 1000% just be with a girl.
I think I was not like fully accepting of my sexuality until I was already with Nick.
Yeah.
And because
And that happens so often.
yeah, and I think because I was like finally with somebody that I felt so comfortable with and so like myself with, that I was able to accept that part of myself that I wasn't in the past. And so if I was back in the dating game, I like to think that that would be something that I would try to like dive into further, is like exploring that side of myself. But it would definitely be scarier for a lot of reasons. 'Cause again, it's like, I feel like being hurt by a girl would be so much harder.
Because it's just,
somehow.
it is.
I don't know why.
Because they know how we feel.
Yeah.
They know what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Because they've gone through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's no good. Don't date girls, Ross.
Yeah. No.
Dating girls
Got
sounds
that.
hard, and it freaks me out. And so I've never actually actually had like a serious connection with somebody because it just scares me in the way of like, yeah, I feel like if I got hurt by a girl, it would hurt a lot more than if like I got hurt by a boy. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's fair.
but
Makes sense.
a big part of it is like acknowledging who you are and what you're attracted to and who you would be attracted to, and just like having that like open dialogue makes it's very validating because we are both married to men.
And being straight passing makes it a lot easier for us to just manage like our sexuality as a whole, because obviously like no matter what and no matter how regular and like accepted it becomes, there are always going to be people that look at homosexuality as a sin if they're very religious or as wrong just for other reasons. And so it's like being in a straight passing marriage is one of those things that I'm grateful for my husband and I love him very much. But sometimes I almost feel like imposter syndrome of like, oh, like, am I really part of like the bisexual or gay community because I'm in this straight passing relationship and I don't struggle the same way that a lot of people do to come to terms with who they are.
Yeah, but we can still be like involved and part of the,
Yeah, 100%.
We validate the struggles of gay people that have to be seen and go out into the world, and the world's very scary, but like we are in the same bill.
Yes.
We are, and it doesn't matter because there are people that are so gay and have never been with anyone,
That's true. I mean, that's me, basically.
Exactly. So like, but there are people that are like, I'm just strictly gay, and I have never.
Oh,
you know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, and it's hard to put yourself out there in general to be with people, whether even if you're straight. Sometimes it's hard to put yourself out into situations like that, and I think that especially when you're in the gay community, there are less people around, and it's hard to even know like if I were to meet a girl organically versus like on a dating app, would I even know if she is into
That's
girls?
what I was gonna say. That's really hard. Growing up, before I knew what I was, I remember like another girl in my school. I think she came out way later, but she had like made a comment to one of my friends, and my friend like blew up about it, just about something that sounded gay. Yeah. And that was when I was like, cool, I will literally never like.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to deal with
like,
that.
I don't ever want to be at the end of that line of fire.
And so that's why everything was like so secretive. Even like, when we're trying to figure things out, and I don't know, were you calling it practice in your bedroom? Practice.
I mean, yeah, it was like, oh, like I learned how to kiss because I kissed girls, or like I kissed girls at camp. Like people talk about experimenting a lot. And I think that like a lot of people nowadays too, I think there's like almost like this spectrum where people will be like, where do you fall like percentage wise?
That's why I was like Ross, are you
50,
sure?
Because there are people that they might be like 80% straight and 20%
I ask Zach
gay.
every day, pretty much. And when we're watching anything, I'm like, but how do you feel about that person?
What would he say about me? Would Zach pick me?
Probably.
Would Zach pick me?
Would Zach pick me? I'm not gay or anything, but would Zach?
but would he though?
But
I
would
want
he?
to know. Can you call him right now and ask him, please?
Should I? He'd be like, do you hear the screaming babies in the background?
He'd be like, so when are you coming home? And yes, I love Ross. Goodbye.
And yes. Yeah, that is something I want to talk about. The struggle of like, it feels bad when you are trying to figure. It doesn't feel bad. I will say for me, every time I kissed a girl, when it was like secretive like that, it didn't feel wrong in the moment, but when I processed it after, it was really overwhelming because I was really young. This is all like before I was 13, because that's when I really started dating dudes.
Elementary school was definitely for me like the time.
Yeah, and I was just making out with girls in my room, and I never processed that. I just moved on. Like literally, I was just like,
you were like, oh, we were playing boyfriend and girlfriend,
make out
and
with
moving
a
on.
dude, I would have been like infatuated with him.
Yes.
And I don't, that's where I say like that's the misogyny. That's like, this is just like a hot thing to do that I like and I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm being intimate with someone that I like, which was actually what it should have been and what it probably actually was.
Yeah, but like in our brains, like especially at that age when like you're not exposed to a lot of that, like like growing up, so I have a gay uncle, but like growing up, nobody called him gay or just like made that a regular thing. Until I was like a teenager, and like I was able to kind of put it together, and my, you know, I think it was my mom that finally confirmed, like, well, yeah, you know, your uncle and Rob are gay together. And I, in my heart and like soul, knew that, but like also like growing up, if it was something where I saw them the way that I saw like my aunts and uncles together, or it didn't feel like such a, like, I don't want to say a taboo thing, because my family is all very close, and like we all love my uncles very dearly. And you know, I think it's just something that like is a big controversial topic even right now, is like, should in schools, you know, kids be exposed to same-sex relationships, or even in like the media. Like there are Disney movies with gay characters, and people are starting to get offended because they think I should be able to determine when my children find out about this being a thing.
Bizarre.
I think it is very bizarre, because it's just people being in love. And I think that like looking at homosexuality in any form as just like, oh, this is a topic that like shouldn't be brought, like if you can watch a prince and a princess kiss at the end of a movie at their wedding, you should be able to watch.
If you can watch a prince kiss a princess that is not even coherent, then you can see two people of the same sex kissing with consent.
That's so
and that's the thing I think is a big controversial topic for people. But growing up in, you know, pre all of that, even now, like there are Disney characters that are gay, and there are, you know, like representations of these groups of people now, but like when we were growing up, there wasn't really. And so even in my own family, there really kind of wasn't. And so I was looking at these situations, as like just, oh, this is just us having fun, or us like practicing kissing, or us playing boyfriend and girlfriend, or whatever the heck. And then just like, moving on from it as if it like never happened, sort of a thing.
I don't even know. Like you just like flip off the switch, and then you're like, okay, we're friends again.
I don't know. I have no idea. Like it was so long ago at this point now that like it's I have no idea even like where my mind was, or like if it was my idea, if it was their idea, or if they you know,
and it's such a universal experience.
Absolutely. And I wonder to this day, like some of the girls that like I would be kissing in my bedroom, like, do they struggle with their sexuality at all? Do they, you know, actually like women, or was it for them just like an experimental thing? Right. And half the time you don't know if it's an experiment for somebody or if they have that. And I think it's easier to just,
if you were consenting to that experiment, you are a little bit gay, because
at least a little bit.
And that's okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's okay. It's okay to be gay, everybody.
It's great to be gay.
It is.
Honestly gay.
Honestly gay.
There it is.
So I know that like one of the things about sexuality that we wanted to talk about outside of like our sexual identity was also maybe the concept of like virginity, and how that is such a thing that like has become another social construct that constricts us into not knowing how to handle certain situations or how to navigate certain situations, because there's just this thing of like, it's really, really special that very first time. And not that it shouldn't be special every time, or if you don't care, then, you know, that's fine too. But like, I feel like there's just this construct of like virginity being so sacred.
And they also put it, a virginity is like only between a man and a woman.
Yes, absolutely. Because it's not considered like sex if it's not between a man and a woman in a lot of ways.
So do you want to break down like how we handled like virginity or losing virginity or whatever? Like,
well, and even just like growing up, like I was the youngest of 3 girls. And so obviously like I had older sisters that were, you know, sexually active long before I was, because they're older than I was. And I used to look at that as just like this crazy thing, like, oh my God, how did you do that? And I think that before you have sex for the first time and after you have sex for the first time, there's this just craziness of like, oh,
what you think it's going to be, it's like, this crazy, your life's going to change.
Yeah. I thought it was literally going to be this life-changing wild thing. And it was just what it was, you know what I mean? Like, and now, you know, it's like you can watch TV shows where there's like one night stands and things like that. And it's like, you don't think anything of it. There's these dating apps where there's this hookup culture, and it's crazy how you go from like being this like innocent little creature
sacred
that has
little thing.
That's literally like your body is a temple, to then it's like, oh, okay, like there's like hookup culture, and there's literally just apps for just meeting people for like one night and those types of things.
Which is good. If that's what people want.
If that's what you want, then you do that.
Please do that. Be safe, but do that.
I support it. Yes, be safe. Protect yourself. Protect others. Be safe, but do what is best for you.
So much has changed. At least it's more like mainstream to talk about. Like, it doesn't. Intimacy doesn't always have to be like connected to like a partner.
Yeah, 100%.
Even like sexual intimacy, but going back to virginity and like the big
V.
The big V. Are we talking about our first times?
Are we? We can. Mine's kind of dumb.
Mine sucked.
Mine sucked too.
Mine
I feel
was-
like it never ends up being what you think it's going to be. So no matter what, I don't
feel
think
like for
anybody...
a dude, it's got to be not as bad as for us.
Well, yeah, probably. Yeah. Let's talk about it from that perspective, actually.
Yeah.
What the perspective was like. So for me, it was like built up. There was this girl that I was like finally dating in high school, and it was like, oh my God, there's going to be a party this weekend. I think we're going to do like that classic like thing. Literally, it's so fucking funny when I think about it. One of my closest friends at that point in time, I didn't have any condoms.
It's giving me super bad. Sorry.
Probably, kind of, yeah. Didn't have any condoms at the time. He had already had sex and all that sort of stuff. So I remember he literally takes me to our local gas station and he buys.
He's like, don't worry, I will go to the counter for
He
you.
literally is like buying the phone. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know. So there's like that whole goofy situation. And then when it happens, it was at a party outside by a pool.
Wow. Okay.
And it was not
romantic.
Not so sick.
Just mostly
No.
just trying to like make sure nobody was like around or there to like.
And I was just. Yeah, I didn't know what and I was just like, holy, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So,
100%.
My partner at the time, I was really young, walked to the gas station.
Love it.
Good old marathon. The clerk told my mom. What he bought.
Whoa.
And I had to be like, Mom, that was for a joke. Like,
Sick prank. It's a
chill.
prank.
It was just for a joke. Like, his friend dared him to do it. It's fine.
Love it.
It was in the shower. It was horrible. It was terrible.
Shower sex is not what it's all like.
No, it was not good. And I hate the term virginity for this reason. I don't like that. I feel like I have this specific tie to this person because of what that was, instead of it just being like an intimate moment that I had with someone, fleeting like other ones.
Yes.
It's supposed to have this like bond, this eternal
Yes.
thing. I don't have that.
No.
It was terrible.
Uncomfortable. Being in the shower is just, it's never a good time.
That's horrible.
It's like
That was a
TV
bad
shows, they're always like, ooh, it's steamy and it's this. And I'm like, I'm short. I'm like a foot shorter than most of my partners.
5'2".
And that's like, I'm like, do you have surfaces that you can like sit on?
Do you got a stool that's water safe?
Yeah, seriously.
Hold on. Do you have a stool that's water safe?
That's slip
Seriously.
resistant in here?
It's just like one of those things. Like it's always like, or like cars. That is not convenient.
That was like my second or third time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's
Right.
just like
Pool
it's,
Teenage sex is not the move.
no, and a lot of it is because you're sneaking around and you don't want to get caught. My first time, I was with somebody whose parents just did not care or whatever. I think, and another thing that's like very kind of like, I don't know, a catch-22 is like boys. I feel like their parents are a lot less like.
Oh my God.
concerned.
They don't care. They
Yeah.
don't care.
My mom.
No one I
only
ever
just-
dated.
She didn't want me to have a baby. That was
Yeah.
her big
Please.
like just.
Well, and it's
I
like,
don't know what you're gonna do,
I don't know what
but
you're
I
going to do,
don't.
but be safe kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But like with boys, it was like,
My dad didn't care.
yeah. Oh, but like I feel like it was one of those things where it was like I was with like a partner whose like parents did not like pay attention to what we were doing or where we were and probably assumed, hey, they're teenagers and they're going to be doing stuff. Probably didn't think anything of it. And so it was just like really just very plain boring, not exciting in a bed like
And
thing.
the difference between the first time with a dude and the first time that I was with a girl,
Completely
experiences. Different experiences. Granted, I was older,
Yeah.
but there was so much more intention. There was so much more like, this is supposed to be like romantic and beautiful and not like in the fucking shower. And so I think that is another thing that like, we assume that sex is a part of like, what kind of relationship? Straight relationships. Heterosexual is what I wanted.
Yeah.
Whereas like when I was very nervous my first time like with a girl, I was not nervous about I was nervous because I didn't really understand the mechanics with the dude. But I was really nervous because it felt more real and intentional. And that's what I hate about looking back and thinking that I didn't take girls seriously, because it felt so much like
more serious
than I let it be.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's so frustrating to know that I just was like, that was so beautiful. See you in class or whatever it was. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I like get out of the shower with my boyfriend. I'm like, I love you so much.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Right.
All based on society. It was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is normal.
This is how I'm supposed to feel after this.
Yeah, I did this thing and it was great. But now I'm like, oh, we're not supposed to do that. That's just straight out of the movie 13.
Yeah.
Right. See, I remember after my first time, it was like, congratulations all around from all my dude friends.
You're getting high fives around the pool.
Can't believe it. Well, not around the pool. There was not an audience.
They all popped out of the pool. They're like, yay!
They've been holding their breath out of the water the whole time. They're like, all right, we can only hold our breath for like 10 seconds, so thank God that's
Ross,
all that lasted.
Oh my God.
You really pulled
job.
through for us.
I'm like, hell yeah, I did that specifically so you
That is
guys
what it was
didn't
for.
drown.
Yeah,
That's why I did
100%.
that.
I think really
It's so weird. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think back to that, and I think back to the like that, and I'm like, that's kind of gross.
I
Like,
just
it's
like,
not,
wasn't-
it
don't
doesn't
put
matter,
pressure
but
on
like,
kids. Don't put pressure on kids. I just want everything to be safe and consensual. And that's that.
It's an
like,
action. It's literally just an action.
is.
And I think that, there should be a lot more like talk about it. And not only like in health class, I was educated about STDs and about protecting myself from
I
pregnancy.
never had a health class, just so we're clear. I think I had like
And
a
I think it
5-minute
depends.
thing.
Yeah, it depends on where you're educated and what type of education you get. We got an education that was based on like just the absolute health side of things. But nobody ever was like, hey, this is important for making sure that this is a pleasurable experience.
Yeah, because
was
it's so
never,
taboo. They're like, just
Exactly.
don't do it.
Yeah.
Abstinence is the only way.
You will have sex. If you have sex, you will get
Yes,
pregnant and
you
die.
will die. If we could make it less taboo and less like, I don't want to say less
Shameful.
appetizing to like teenagers, but when you're like, hey, you can't do this one thing, that's what they want to do.
it's the
Oh,
Holy
gosh,
Grail.
yeah.
If we could just be like, yeah, it's a cool thing that you can experience with people that you love or whatever, then like they'd be like, cool, just like everything else.
Yeah.
But we're like, don't do this thing. But this is only for adults.
But if the clerk at the like CVS or whatever is gonna tell your mom, like
Can you
it
believe
makes
that?
you
I
feel
mean,
so shameful for doing something that's
that's
completely natural.
normal.
And
we
I'm
were
sorry,
being safe.
I'm gonna say literally, like you're going to shame somebody for doing the right thing by
Right.
choosing
Yeah.
to buy something that's going to protect you both from an unwanted pregnancy or an STD or literally anything that could go wrong
Yeah.
can be prevented with a contraceptive. And to use that contraceptive is the most like just intelligent, smart thing that you could do at that
Yeah.
age. And whereas like there are kids that don't have access to that, they're too embarrassed to go
And
get
that's
it
what I was gonna say. I will
themselves.
say my mom is like a great mom, and although I wasn't like, Mom, I'm gonna have sex. Obviously, she found out about the condoms, and I was already on birth control for my acne.
Yeah.
But the way she found out, because I was like totally a joke mom, and she just believed me about the condom thing, or she was like, I cannot deal with this right now.
Yeah.
She was dropping me off at my dad's, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot my birth control at home. She was like, you're fine. You can go a couple days, right? And I was like, the car ride home was so silent.
no.
But then she just was like, thank you for being honest with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do need to take your pill. Obviously, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with this information.
Yeah.
I'm going to take some time to process. I'm going to come back up and talk to you about it. But like, thank you for
100%.
telling me. And I'm so grateful for that experience, because so many people are like, if you do
Yes.
this, I'll kick you out of the house.
That's so important. That's so
strange.
important.
Like, I don't know. Like, this is such a hypothetical situation, but like, I like even thinking about the idea of like my future child whenever they do that, and I'm gonna be like, nice. Was
High
it cool?
five, bro.
Was it fun? Like, girl, guy, like, I don't care.
Yeah, were you safe? That's all I
literally
care
just
about.
like, oh, that's cool. Like, are you good?
Right.
Like, how do you do? What do you want for dinner tonight?
I feel like-
Talk about-
it's fine.
I feel like growing up, like, there's also this, like, growing up, my parents were like, we know that you're going to get older and, like, you're going to maybe go to parties and drink. But, like, if you do, please
Call
just make sure that you
us.
call us and have, like, a ride home and be
Right,
safe.
right.
But, like, why can't we have that same conversation with sex?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is just an action. I'll go back to that over and over again.
Yeah.
It can have some interesting consequences for sure.
If you're not careful.
If you're not careful, you're not safe, you're not educated, you don't know your partner in that way.
Yeah.
I don't know who's listening to this that we're like, I know it's your first time.
I mean, hey, maybe, who knows?
No, but even if we're speaking to people that are parents, like give your child, and I know that it's like this sacred little being that you created and stuff, but they are a person.
I will say, I always was the type to bring like my boyfriends everywhere I went, like to family functions and stuff.
Yeah.
And I took one of my boyfriends to like one of my dad's family functions, and his cousin was there, and he has a daughter that is my exact age. We're like a month apart. And he was like, I would never let her have a boyfriend at this age. Like I would never. She had a baby. She was pregnant at that time and he didn't know. She had a baby.
Wow.
Because that's what happens when you don't know your kid, because you set the rules and you set the standard for their life.
And at
you're
that point
gonna do whatever you
like,
want.
If that
But she had no education.
Kid, had been educated and used the protection,
and was
then
supported in their
it might
choices.
have been it might have been avoidable that she had a child so early on in life, or this is another controversial topic. If she had found out early enough, like abortion, if she wanted to follow through with that being her choice of how to handle the situation, if she waited too long because she was afraid of her parents finding out, it could have crossed that threshold of it being
There's so many things like that. So many things where you didn't educate your kid, so now you've got a grandkid with your kid at 16.
Yeah.
And you want to reprimand them for that, but you did not set them up for any type of success in this situation.
Yeah.
You want to know something really wild and dumb?
Yeah.
Here's some spicy information for the podcast. Okay. You know how I was like, I told the whole story, like, oh, my friend went and bought condoms, blah, blah, blah. Very first time, didn't even use them.
Really?
And what's weird is afterwards I was like, what did I do?
Yeah, you're like, she's pregnant.
Was that, and obviously, still prevented, took the measures to prevent. But I was like, I literally like had like a conversation with where I was like,
why?
All right, that was cool.
Every time I
crazy.
had sex, I was like, I'm pregnant.
But like,
Same.
But I was like, why would I not have been? Like that literally could have literally changed my entire life.
Yeah,
of course.
The first time could have changed my entire life because for some reason, to be fair, I also was embarrassed. I felt awkward of like, when do I get it out? When do I put it on? How do I tell her?
This feels like I'm deciding.
I've never put it on before. Is it going to be awkward and ruin the moment because I don't know how to do it?
And I'm like, how do I tell her? Like, I don't know. And then it was just like, oh, this is just going to happen, I guess. Yep. And then like that could have changed the trajectory completely.
Of your entire life.
Have you guys ever had pregnancy scares? I know obviously you have children, so you've had actual children, so you've had actual pregnancies.
So I definitely have before I was diagnosed with PCOS, and then I thought I couldn't get pregnant, which led to 2 babies. But yeah, I have taken so many pregnancy tests like over the years, mainly just because there wasn't enough education around things, and
the paranoia more than anything else.
And the idea of like when you're not with people that you want to have a life with, but you're doing things and you're like, I gotta just really make sure I don't make a mini you because you suck.
That's fair. Yeah. I've never had a pregnancy.
I was gonna say, I think I was on a birth control where for 10 years, actually. I went on it because I had really bad periods at like 15. So I was on a birth control where I only got my period once every 3 months, and it was never very regular. It was never very predictable.
Really
so
didn't know.
I quite literally like every 3 months I would just get paranoid and take a test because I was just scared that it might happen. But like, I can honestly say I don't think I've ever actually had like a solid thing where I was like, oh my God, this is happening. And mostly just because I have a very unpredictable cycle in general. Yeah. But
can I tell you a really stupid story that is hilarious now?
Yes.
So the only one that maybe could count, but it wasn't even an actual thing. The girl at the time, I remember she's like, oh, my like stomach's feeling weird. But and this is at the time like I lived in my hometown, so like,
is this 5 minutes after 2? Where you're like, oh my God, there's a baby in there.
Yeah.
No, but I feel like it was like legit looking back. It was like a day or two after like a time.
Yeah, where you're like, oh.
And I remember her like texting me and being like, I'm like kind of worried. Like my like I'm like kind of like she literally was bloated.
Yeah, she literally had to poop, and she was like, something's going on.
I'm not even kidding. Like it was that.
It was food, baby.
She like literally like I remember her being like, my like stomach's like hard and I'm like bloated, like, and both of us were like, that must be a bit. But like what's also weird is I think back to that time and like there was no like, oh my God, you're pregnant. I was like, I wonder if that's Like,
Yeah.
because also, like, I'm like, small town, I guess this is what happens.
Yep, you're
Yeah.
like, well, I guess we'll see what
And
happens.
I was like, yeah, damn, uh-oh. And then she
Well-
literally just, like, had to take a big dump, and that was it.
yeah, she was like, actually, I shit and we're good. Don't worry about it.
Literally,
I
the
named it
next
Ross
day-
Jr.
The next day.
I
like-
named it Ross Jr.
Yeah, she sent me a picture of her shit and was like, it looks just like you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well-
How do we feel about everything we've covered?
I
'Cause,
feel like-
now
I
we've
feel like
covered
we've
Ross's
covered-
ex's shit.
I feel like we've covered a lot of different aspects of sexuality that are very important because obviously there's sexual identification, there's sexual experiences, and then all of the fun little things that go along with it. So I feel like we did pretty good on
Yeah.
this one, you guys.
You know,
Yeah, this was
another
fun.
interesting thing, not to trail us off because I know we're about to wrap up, I ended up having a conversation with my little sister about this.
Oh.
Where she brought it up to me that our dad got extremely mad at her when he found out that her and her boyfriend, who she's now engaged to, were having sex in the house. And back when my girlfriend stayed all the time. He didn't care.
Spent
about
that
it.
night.
I had a
Yes.
girlfriend
100%.
lived with me. She lived in my room with me. So like, there's no way you don't.
Yeah.
And like, again,
That's
my
the-
dad's
that's
great.
always
my dad's
the
nice,
double
but, like,
standard, yep.
It's that like it's the double standard. It's like programmed into his brain of like, oh my god, my precious little girl. Like, why
There
would you
is
do
100%.
that?
such a
But, like,
deep-rooted misogyny, and no offense to the dads, and slight offense to the dads, because work on yourself. But it's in all of them.
Yeah.
It's in me. I've already talked about it. Like, it's something that you really have to work and ask why.
Yes, and your daughter can get pregnant, but your son can get someone
Your
pregnant.
son can get so many more
You
people
can-
pregnant than your daughter can.
You
I
can
could
have
go
a
get, like,
grandchild
yeah.
regardless of your child's like sexuality. Like you can sexuality, regardless of your child's sex. If you have a boy and he's having sex with girls, you can have a grandchild. If you have a girl that's having sex with boys, you can have a grandchild. No matter
Yeah.
what, it's still something that should be talked about and educated about.
Yes.
It's something that everybody should be aware of. And if you're going to be defensive towards your daughter, you should also be defensive towards your
Exactly.
son.
Meet your kids at the same spot, because now, like, thank goodness it sounds like she's old enough, she's engaged. But if she were like a teenager and he were acting like this, she's just gonna go do it at someone else's house.
Yeah.
Right,
An
yeah,
unsafe
it's still- yeah,
situation.
it doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm sure. Yeah. Sure. They ended up talking about it. Whatever. And it's all
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And again, my dad's not like a spiteful, hateful.
Exactly.
You know, he was just
It's
like,
just-
what the fuck's happening? Oh
Yep,
my
it's
God.
deep
like,
in us.
I remember when she
Yes.
told me that, I was like, that never happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With me.
Is she the
and-
youngest?
Well, yeah. Yes.
Sometimes I think it's like, oh, my baby girl. You know, it's like I'm
sure.
the youngest, and I feel like everything I did because I was the last one to do it was just like the biggest deal.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. That makes sense. But yeah, it is. It is so like I could go.
Double standard.
I could
Yes.
go get 10 different girls pregnant right now.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
you can only get pregnant once. You can only get
Yeah.
pregnant, and like
Yes.
at that time,
Yes.
obviously, right? And it's like,
Right.
Why is
For
that?
sure.
Like, oh yeah, Ross. Like, do you think, bro?
So
It's like,
Shout out
check
to
your
Nick Cannon.
internal. Yeah, for real. Check
out
your
to what?
internal.
Nick
Nick
Cannon.
Cannon. He has
oh
like
my
50 kids.
God.
Check on your internal misogyny and work on it. We all have it,
We do.
especially when it comes to sexuality and sex in general and intimacy. We're all working on that, and we hope you are too, because sex is cool and we want to enjoy it safely.
Hey,
Yes.
sex is dope.
Sex is so cool,
It's
guys.
real dope, you guys. Hey, if somebody wants to come talk to us about
Mm-hmm.
sex, where can they do that?
Yep, great. Yeah,
Probably-
please come talk to me about sex.
Probably on like our honestly same pod
Yeah,
thing,
let's
just so
keep it
that
there.
it's just so
Let's
that there's other witnesses
Streamline
to the,
all your sex conversations to honestly same pod. But if you would like to talk to me about other things, you can find me.
If you'd like to talk to us about how to be
Hi,
safe
Brittany.
or how to educate yourself,
yes,
Come to them and tell them about your first time.
Yes, but you're gonna find me at HAIBRITTANI.
I'm at la.petitiegoth.
I am at Ross Tyson. This show, send all your sex stories.
Yeah, actually, kind of, but only honestly same.
Honestly, same pod.
Mm-hmm.
That is an episode all about sex.
Yeah, love you
Although I
guys.
feel like we could actually do a real episode, like
Yeah, we could.
really about sex. Like
Yeah.
that was more about like, you know, whatever else
That was
around it.
that was loaded. You guys tell us what you want picked through in that.
They're going to be like, tell us all the dirty, nasty details, and we're going to have to write a smut.
You know,
Fun.
there's a We're Not Really Strangers extension pack that's all about like sex.
Yeah, that would be fun.
conversations and stuff.
Let
That
us
would
know
be-
if you want
that'd
us
be
to
fun.
play that. I feel like that would be interesting.
Yeah, because
That'll
we
be
be playing games.
We're playing some games.
We
You can go find
love
us.
games.
Hey,
I love
Brittany, what
games.
should we do now?
Hit that motherfucking button.